Have you ever wondered what goes into your favorite brand's digital marketing strategy? I'm Tara, the founder of TJ Creative Agency.
And I'm Audrey, the creative marketing director of TJ Creative Agency. Whether you're an influencer, a business owner, a content creator, or just an overall creative person, we'll teach you how to create the perfect social media strategy and build your brand online.
Have an interview at 11. You're doing analytics with Sandy.
Oh, yeah. I have a... So basically, I guess we should give some sort of an intro. Like this week, we kind of just want to give you like a behind the scenes look at what it's really like working within our agency. So this is kind of just going to be a candid conversation between Tara and I, kind of a catch up of like, what are you doing this week? Like what, thoughts on what's going on, whatever. And the reason we wanted to do this is because these are actually some of my favorite episodes. I was talking about this on a TikTok live yesterday. Like some of my favorite episodes within the like marketing and business sector are when they're just recorded calls between like people within the business, like internal calls, because I feel like that it's almost like, how, like me personally, I feel like I learn better when I'm doing something, right? Like I don't really learn as well if I just read something. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think maybe why I like these conversations, because even though I'm not doing anything, I feel like I'm seeing it in practice. It's not someone trying to explain something to me, which oddly enough, I don't learn as much from. I learn from just like watching
being a
or
fly
hearing.
on a wall. Yeah. That whole fly on the wall perspective is a whole different perspective than what you get like being told what to do.
Yeah, it's a little less like thought out isn't the right word, but it's less like produced, I guess. Yeah. Like it's a little more candid.
Because when we do the regular ones, we do have an outline. We are trying to stay on track. Yeah. Those types of things. And you kind of don't go off.
We're kind of testing also like the types of episodes, just to be transparent with you guys. We're kind of going to try and test like different styles of episodes. So obviously this is going to be a different style of episode. We're also testing like different types of guests. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of this, because at the end of the day, you guys are the ones listening to this. But we will still obviously share like our social media tips. There's still going to be solo episodes with Tara and I of just our social media tips and things that we're learning and whatever things we think you guys should know. But we also want to get like more of a behind the scenes look at someone like running a business or like in a marketing position at a corporation, or just influencers that have been in the game for a while. Like we want to give you kind of a behind the scenes look at social media as a whole, while also broadening and talking about entrepreneurship. And like I have like such a passion for female founders and entrepreneurship and that light, and like I love listening to business type podcasts and things like that, just because I've always found it very inspiring and like aspirational when I hear people talking about even like the lows, like the highs and the lows of starting their own business. I love hearing about that stuff. Yeah. So we kind of want to include some more of that, and then also even just like touch on other marketing that's not social media. Like obviously email marketing has a big play in things, or even like paid social isn't necessarily what we do. There's Olive, if you can see her.
But we are learning how to do it.
Yeah, we're working on it. So anyways, my point being that we're trying to switch things up.
She's digging a hole in your couch.
She always does that. There she goes. Olive.
Audrey is new to the parenting sector, and she is over here trying to parent a dog.
Yeah, I'm trying to parent.
It's really fun to watch. I really enjoy it.
She's like such a pain sometimes. She was laying, and what's so annoying is I swear to God, it's always when I turn the camera on when she starts to like be
active.
So annoying. Like I swear she was sleeping on the couch 2 seconds ago, and then I turned the camera on and she's like, I have to go outside. I have to dig on your couch. I have to come inside and then I have to go back outside if you don't mind. And I'm like, oh my God, this has all happened within 5 minutes. Anyways.
Yeah, I love that. So in sharing kind of the behind the scenes, like this week we did an education call yesterday, which we did record. Did you find anything valuable in that?
Yeah. So that was the other thing, is I recorded it almost more so as like, let's just test this out. I kind of just hit record and I was like, I probably won't use this. I can't imagine that there's anything valuable in this conversation or applicable. And as we were talking, I was like, I'm so glad I'm recording this because I really do think we hit on a lot of good topics, because like things come out when we're just talking and chatting, because we let ourselves like go to different places. We let ourselves get like a little bit off topic and whatever and go off on these tangents. Whereas like when we're just on the podcast, we don't really let ourselves do that as much. We kind of are like, we have to stick to the subject.
The subject only.
So
Yeah.
I kind of want to dive into like what we are doing this
Working
week.
on right now?
Yeah. What are you working on this week?
Hiring somebody, which has been a journey. Speaking
You guys
of like
don't even understand how difficult it has been to hire someone.
it's been a couple months.
Oh my God. Yeah. We've probably been in the hiring phase for one position for like at least a month. At least.
At least. Yeah, I think it's been almost 2. It's been a long time, because I think what happened is that we got to the end of it, and then that person changed their mind, and then you kind of have to start over. And it's been really, I think for Audrey and I, this position that we're looking for right now it's a pivotal position. It's a pillar position. There's 3 of us. We need that 4th person that's really going to balance us out. And so we don't want to make the wrong decision. So we're spending maybe more time than usual and trying to find that right person. And with that, we've noticed that a lot of people that are applying for the position, and that's why maybe we bring it up on this podcast, is that like how important and valuable it is to show like your ability and your work and have a portfolio going into a position like this, because that has been a big part of our process, is having somebody actually show us their work, and that's a big chunk of the interview process. And I think if people knew what to go in with, it would eliminate a lot of things and probably push them to the top of the stack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this is also like we've had kind of a hard time with hiring, not even just like in finding someone, but breaking down like what positions we need, like how to decipher like what their job description should be, like how many accounts they should run, how, and then on top of that, the profitability of it, right? Because you're going to be paying someone. So you need to kind of do that math and be like, okay, they need to at least bring in this much money through X amount of clients accounts for this to make sense for us. And like luckily we are at a point where we're like kind of in over our heads with the amount of clients we have right now versus the amount of people on the team. But the hiring process is it's like I don't feel like there's any information on it out there. Like we've tried to do so much research too, even in other agencies, and being like, what positions do you guys have? How have you organized that? Like that was a whole thing on its own.
That was a whole thing on its own.
Was how we want to organize it. But then this hiring section, like I will say, I almost think it's harder to hire as a startup and as a small business than it is for a corporation, because we are looking for so much. And I say this in every single interview. I always say like the biggest thing we are looking for is like your energy. We need you to be a self-starter. We need you to be pretty ambitious. And I always tell people too, like one of the beauties of being in a startup is if you see a gap in what we're offering, whether it's a service that we could be offering or how we could improve on a service we already offer, like we will give you the resources to do what you think will better this company.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is with being in a small business or a startup is that like we just don't have the capacity with the team that we have right now. We have all these ideas, but we do not have the time to execute some of them, which is kind of the beauty of like bringing on a team member, obviously, right? But like that's the biggest thing. So for us, I think the interviews, I mean, obviously the portfolio is really your first impression. But after that, like the interviews, I hate to be like, we go off of vibes, but like we do, you have to be able to,
we do go off
you have to be like excited and knowledgeable. Like I can always tell if somebody sounds like they don't know what they're talking about. I'm like immediately, no, thank you so much, but no. And you have to be able to like fit in with the team. And it's pretty easy to tell if someone has a good work ethic, but that's like one of the top things that we look for in hiring. So kind of just like a PSA for people that are hiring. like within their small business, it's going to be hard, and that's okay. Just know that. But eventually you will end up with team members that are great and are going to help lift your business up.
Yeah, and I think that's what is going to make it successful long term. Like these short hires, like they don't, I mean, they get you from one point A to point B, but like do, like building a strong team is literally like the most important thing that you can do.
That's something that we've talked about a lot recently, that like we would rather kind of be almost in over our heads for a little bit in order to find the right candidate, the right person that we should hire. So what I mean by that is, like, obviously I just said we have a lot of clients and we're spread pretty thin right now, but I would rather take my time to hire someone that I think is actually going to benefit us long term versus like hiring just out of like scarcity, I guess. Yeah.
And also you find that those hires that you do hire like quickly, they're usually just not, again, this is a startup, so you're wearing multiple hats, Audrey always says, and that's literally, you have to be willing to do it. You have to have kind of this drive and ambition that comes from like an entrepreneurial side of somebody. And if they don't have that, if that's lacking, that's okay. You know, that's not for everybody, but maybe it's a later hire or somebody that comes in later as a secondary person.
Well, and one thing that I say on the interviews all the time, like I can't drive this home enough in these interviews. I'm always like, if you are the type of person that needs a lot of direction and you need someone to tell you exactly what to do, or you are the type of person who this is just a job, right? You clock in, you clock out, you get your paycheck. She just fell off the couch. But if you're that type of person, that's fine. I'm not shaming you at all, but a startup is not going to be the right fit for you. A bigger corporation with more structure in place is going to work for you. But as a startup, and I don't even think this is just specific to us, I think this is most startups, you need someone that is able to kind of like work at a quick pace, change gears very quickly, like, you know, like Tara said, wear a lot of hats.
Just be innovative too, like, and thinking of what we can do to make something better or how we can make that process easier. Or because I think too, it's hiring people that do things that you're not good at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Like we've talked about, like, it's been such, the word is left my brain. It's been so helpful having Megan, who is great at writing, for example. I cannot spell to save my life. I can't. And I'm going to speak for Tara and say she can't either.
Nope.
So it's been so helpful. Like I've been having Megan edit all of my captions before I send them to clients, because the amount of emails I would get from clients when I send out like content calendars for editing, being like, hey, by the way, there are a few typos. I was like, that's embarrassing. So I'm going to have Megan go in and I have her edit all of them and just like check over all of them before I even send them out for edits now.
And I remember like praying specifically, like as we are going through this in the beginning, like, and developing the positions, it's like, what do we need next? Which is more important, somebody that writes well or somebody that's great at graphics? And you kind of have to like find what's most important. But like, we knew right away, like we were not good at writing.
But that's like, the other thing too, is that we weren't necessarily hiring just for someone to write well. You know what I mean? And I think that's why Megan works so well, because if we're like, hey, we need help with this, she's like, I got it. She's organized everything for us. She reaches out to clients. She's really the front person in terms of like, if you're emailing us or you want a discovery call, she's the first person that you're going to talk to. So we needed someone with a lot of different skills.
And she did that. Like, that's what was so amazing about her, is like, she came in and she's like, okay, you guys are great at all these things, but let me help you get better at this, or let's organize, streamline this process. And not just like, let's streamline this, like I streamlined this and this is how we're doing it moving forward. Is that cool with you guys?
That's been huge. And I think that's something that I did when I came in too, is I was like, this is something we should do. So I'll be doing that now. Like even, by the way, you guys, we're on YouTube now. All of these episodes, I shouldn't say all of the episodes. It's taking me forever, But from here and the last previous 6 episodes are all on YouTube. But that was something that I was like, you know what? I know YouTube is prioritizing podcasts right now. Let's get on that. Like, I don't, that's what we mean by self-starter. Like, I didn't need to be like,
Mm-hmm.
Tara, what do you think about this? I just was
Mm-mm.
like, hey, by the way, this is something I'm working on.
We're doing this. Yeah. And that's what you have to have in a startup is somebody that is
Also,
willing to do that and not be afraid to like bring it. Cause I feel like we are so open to that. Like if somebody comes to me and says, I want to do this, I'm like, let's do it. Like,
that's what
what
I
do you
tell people
need?
all the time. I'm like, we will give you the resources that you need,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to be able to like have that idea and like that drive really at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day. Also, you guys, this I didn't know people did this until I started hiring. Um, if I ask you for a portfolio, please, for the love of God, do not send me a Google Doc with links on it. What the hell is that? Also, please don't send me like, okay, for mock-up stuff, we asked for like 3 posts for this, whatever. That you can send in a Google folder. But also don't send me your portfolio as just like 7 different Google folders.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Like, I'm begging you. In fact, not to sound harsh, but I had a handful of people do that for this position. Immediately didn't even open the links. I was like, no, actually, I won't be.
Because I can't
You're
navigate it.
you're actually not a candidate anymore because what the hell is this?
Yeah, I know. It sucks. I think that is, I guess, our job with the podcast and everything is just to help kind of guide you guys, I guess, because we're navigating it from this end. But if you can come into a position, any position that's creative, I don't care what it is, a portfolio, something visually to look at.
Yes.
I cannot look at a Word doc resume and
No,
read it.
I
I
literally
can't.
think that all the
I like
time.
this check out.
I'm like, okay, if we're hiring for like a copywriter, okay, sure, whatever. An operations manager, sure. If you're a graphic designer or a social media manager or whatever, like you are a creative person, no, it needs to look like literally just get on Canva and use one of their templates. Like it doesn't have to be over the top, but it is so funny because I was talking to a friend that is an engineer and he was like, yeah, mine is like 3 pages and it's just a Word doc. I was like, mine has gorgeous like graphics. I made my own logo for my name. Granted, that was when I thought I was going to do more like freelance stuff. So I put a lot more time into it. But I was like, look how beautiful mine is. He was like, yeah, mine doesn't look like that at all.
That's why I hired her because it was so pretty.
That's what
It
I'm
makes a
saying.
difference. It makes a huge difference. Like giving me something to look at because then you can really tell where you
And
stand in
even if,
graphics.
for example, like we don't ask for your portfolio right off the bat, if you have some sort of like graphics or creativity in your resume, that almost is an extension of your portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. And also think like I just think that whatever as a social media manager, if this is the route that you're on, like showing grids, showing video content that you've made, and even if you don't have clients that you've worked with to be able to do that, like just taking a brand like we've done before is give people brands and say like make a grid for this,
Yeah.
like do that for your
Also,
favorite
I
3
can't
brands.
stress enough if you guys are hiring, please don't have them make content for one of your actual clients. I feel like that. I feel so strongly about this. I feel like that's like the slimiest thing because I know there's companies out there that will do interviews and be like, hey, come up with some like content ideas or like pitch us some ideas for our brand or make us graphics. And then they don't end up hiring the person, but they use their content anyways. And I'm like, that's feels so wrong to me. So
It's
anyways, I
not.
feel so passionately about that. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. We've heard of a few people
In
having that
big
happen.
companies, you guys, like they're not even like small companies. They're like, I don't want to say their names, but they're like well-known companies that a lot of y'all probably respect.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's been something. Hiring is something that's been huge. Obviously, Audrey's bringing things to YouTube. We're working on educational stuff. So yesterday's meeting was really about Megan breaking. She actually had Audrey and I answer questions, and then she's going to be able to format and that in a way that maybe Audrey and I couldn't. And then when it comes to the design of the ebook, we'll come back to that and start seeing what
Yeah.
we're going to
So
make
we're
it look like.
making some educational content. So yesterday, I mean, you guys will hear that. I think it'll go up after this episode. So probably in the next like 2 weeks, you guys will hear that that episode, that conversation. But it's a good conversation for anyone that's looking to be an influencer. I think we actually share a lot of content, some useful information on there. Also, I went over some of it. I went live yesterday on TikTok. First of all, I had so many trolls on that live. Like, I hadn't had trolls on lives. If you guys have been here for a while, you know my thoughts on lives. Like, I stopped doing them for a long time because I was so tired of the trolls. They just say things to get a reaction out of you. And I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, yesterday, some of them were funny and some of the people were so sweet. And they're like, get out of here. Like, she's actually being super informational. Like, get out of this chat. And I was like, it's fine. He was like, this guy was like, I'll only take advice from millionaires. And I was like, okay, then you can leave. He was like, so you're middle class? I was like, yeah. And you just said you don't take advice from people who aren't millionaires. So what are you doing here? But another guy made me laugh so hard, was like, I haven't seen a white girl with like natural full lips like that. And I was like, they're not natural, but thank you so much.
Well, at least you were honest.
I was like, I can tell you who did it. She's one of our clients.
Let me send you her way.
Anyways, that was a sidebar. But yeah, we're working on hiring a lot. I feel like I'm so scattered, which is like, I don't feel like people understand that with social media. And maybe it's just like the nature of a startup. Like, I feel like I'm working on 90,000 different things at one time. Like, I can't, and maybe it's also just the way my brain works. Like, I have such a hard time focusing on just one thing. So like I said, these YouTube videos have been taking me like 3 days. I'm almost done. I only have 2 left to do, but been working on that. And then I'll get distracted and I'm like, oh, I have to finish these analytics, or, oh, I have to prep for this call in 30 minutes, or, oh, like I have to do whatever engagement. Also, sidebar, I was trying to be really intentional with engagement because also, if you've listened to this podcast, you know that's like my least favorite part of this job. I despise doing engagement. But I saw a post about it. I don't remember who posted it, but just talking about like how you find, the people you should engage with. And she was saying, this post was saying that they break it down into like 3 tiers. Like, I think it was Coastal Collective. And it was like tier 3 is like mostly aligns with your brand, like customers, potential customers. Tier 2 is like 3 out of 6 things align. Tier 1 is like really aligns. And they make like saved collections on Instagram of like these people we should regularly interact with. I didn't do it exactly like that, but like, for example, when I was doing TJ, we've talked about a lot that we have like several different like audiences. Categories. Yeah, several different audiences. So I kind of separated it into like, these are businesses that kind of align with us that I think would be potential clients, social media managers, and like people who are looking for influencer tips. And I kind of did the same thing on on the social sessions Instagram. And then with one of our cosmetic ones, I was looking at like influencers in the area. And then I don't remember the other one, but I kind of separated it into like the different audiences. But I saved them to be like, okay, remember to go back to these people. So I'm trying to be more intentional with engagement.
I think that's really good because we've been struggling with that whole identifying the audience thing anyway. It's really a way to like separate it. I think
we talk about knowing your audience so much, but like behind the scenes, I've brought this conversation up so many times. I'm like, who is our TJ audience? Because we're selling media kits. We like have a podcast that very much aligns with a lot of social media managers and kind of small business owners and like startup owners.
And then we have clients.
And then we obviously have people who were trying to be clients. And it kind of is like, it wasn't intentional that we spread it out like that. But the podcast was probably the most intentional of audiences, like being like social media managers and like influencers. That's kind of who we were targeting. But it just so happened that the TikTok ended up with a ton of influencers, like a bunch of people that are trying to be influencers follow us over there, and a bunch of social media managers follow us on Instagram. So as we've been like developing more so like products and educational things and whatnot, like we've really had to try and crack down on our audience and really be like, who are we trying to serve? So we're running a few ads right now. Like Tara said, we're kind of learning and testing our way through paid ads. But that was like one of the big questions is like, who are we trying to target? And it depends on, what product we're trying to push. Like if it's media kits, obviously it's influencers, but we're trying to push the one-on-one calls and also just like bring awareness to the page. But that's like a whole section, right? Of like, who are you trying to target? You have to answer all these questions on.
And also, like, it is like sometimes our content, like, I think people would maybe be like, your clients see that kind of thing. Cause we come sometimes, like, meme wise, we'll like play up on like
Yeah.
client issues
I
or
think
whatever.
that's
But
a
it's like,
delicate way to tell them that they're doing something wrong. That's how I view it when I'm like social media managers and the other one is like clients who go rogue and post on their own. I'm like, I hope our clients see that. Like,
yeah,
don't do that.
basically it's a communication style. But like, so that's where we've struggled. But I don't feel like a lot of our clients even go to us for, like, maybe they do, but I don't think they're there to like get information. You
Yeah,
know what
I
I
don't think
mean?
so either. I think a lot of the informational stuff, more so in terms of like client stuff, is the credentials, right? Oh, they know what they're talking about. Also, I
Yeah.
do think it helps with the other audience of like booking a one-on-one, same kind of thing, shows the credentials. I try not to do too much educational stuff. I'm trying to be like a lot more specific with strategy lately. Obviously, we've always had some kind of strategy, but I'm trying to be more specific in terms of if you listen to our podcast like a few weeks ago about the marketing funnel, that's kind of what I mean, where I'm trying to be more specific of like, what is my goal on this page? And what am I trying to achieve here? And recently, I feel like it's been conversion, obviously some awareness in terms of brands, not as much like people listening to the podcast or, social media managers. Like, I don't really need that kind of awareness, but awareness in terms of potential clients. So
Yeah.
I've been trying to really crack down on strategy and like
On
be
how to
super
reach them.
intentional with what I'm doing. And it's worked. Like the stuff that I've meant to be more awareness focused is, and the stuff that is more conversion type of stuff is getting the reaction that I need it to. You know what I mean? So I think it just does go to show that like when you have strategy behind your content and you're like, this is what I'm hoping this post does versus like this post is doing something different, like it really helps. Also, I
You
saw
really,
Gigi post something the other day and I was like, so true. She was like, you should not expect one post to like go viral, get you a bunch of clients, increase your like link clicks, get a ton of engagement, whatever. She like listed off like 6 different things. She was like, one post is never supposed to do all of that. Each post
mm-mm.
basically has one, maybe 2 purposes behind it.
Yeah, for sure. What else was
Anyways,
I going to say? What else is there that we're working on? I mean, we talked to education, we talked about the hiring process, which I feel is a majority of our time right now. Um, but I think this episode would be helpful to somebody. I think there's some good stuff in there, especially if you're starting out, just to see all the things. And we're open, like, I want us to be completely transparent with how we did set things up, because I think that was something that we struggled with, was like, how do we organize this thing, that we have started?
yeah.
And so like those
Which really does
positions,
speak to the like hire where you're not like in the skills that you don't have. And that was one thing we were struggling with was like the organization and also like staying on top of discovery calls and new clients and things like that simply due to capacity and also like patience. I feel like I could do that, but it also drives me crazy. I started on Notion before Megan came into the picture and I was like, I hate this. I
this is
despise
not
this.
for me.
No, I
Yeah,
don't. I don't like this. And then Megan came in and she was like, I got it. Like, I know how to
I
do
love
this.
it. And she likes it. I think she really does enjoy it. I think that's what the whole thing, I want people to like fulfill their, like, what they're good at. Like, we're all good at certain things, you know what I mean? And
Right.
she kills it at that. So we got lucky with her, and hopefully we get lucky with this next one.
Well, that's kind of a rundown on like what we're up to, a lot in the hiring process, things like that. If you guys like these kind of episodes, I feel like it's a little more conversational and you get to like maybe hear our personalities a little bit more. Let us know. And if there's anything that you specifically want us to talk about, also let us know. That's how I try and come up with the topics anyways, especially on live. If you're ever on live with me, like I pull from those questions a lot, like what people
Are
are asking
asking or
about. Yeah.
yeah, that's another strategy that is super helpful to use. We use it a lot is just like that
Just
feedback from
seeing
your
what your
audience.
audience is saying. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
For sure.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. There's like very little structure to it. Hope that's okay. Sorry you didn't get a tip of the week. But if you are subscribed to the newsletter, shouldn't matter because there's like several tips in there plus 3 social media updates that you get every week. Actually, Megan and I noticed for the last like 3 weeks there was just miscommunication. I thought she was putting the social media news section in there and she thought I
Uh-huh.
was doing it. So we just sent the same 3 social media tips like 3
And
weeks in a row.
you're
But
like,
now we figured it out. So if you did want, more social media tips or updates and you don't have to wait till Thursday, we give 3 of them out straight to your email. So that was a
yeah,
subtle
get on
plug,
that.
but
All you have to do is go to the website. It will prompt you right away. Sign up.
and just sign up right there.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We will talk to you next week.
Talk soon.
Bye.